welcome to Desert Wanderers, produced by Salt and Light Radio. If you're new here, we bridge the gap between you and the person in the pew next to you. I will be interviewing priests, religious, and laity in our local Boise diocese, asking questions that'll help you navigate your vocation and help build community wherever you are with whatever resources you may have. Let's build the city of God together. Hello, Ashley. I'm so excited to have you on today. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Great.
So I was going to say, the first thing I was going to say is you were referred to us actually from our pledge drive. So we just had our pledge drive this last week and it was really awesome, but it's like such a good time to have people come in because I get to hear about different stories, which actually leads to a lot of conversations on this podcast. But you specifically were advised by one of our members to have you come in and talk about your pro-life work. So I'm very excited to have you on today. Let's just start with giving a little bit of your background and where you are right now and kind of all of that.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Alexis Fisher. I am currently attending Boise State University. So I'm getting my bachelor's in biology with an ecology, evolution, and behavior emphasis. I'm a senior, so I'll be graduating in the spring. I moved here actually with my family 4 years ago from New Jersey. So I guess my pro-life work kind of started back there actually. But I'm here now. So that's kind of a little brief summary about me.
So tell me what happened. So how did your pro-life work start? Where was like the first time you heard about pro-life movement, that kind of stuff? And then what kind of influence did New Jersey have on you, or what kind of work did you do in New Jersey?
For sure. So honestly, there's no like specific pinpoint of like, this is when I became pro-life or this is the moment that like really made me passionate. I've just always been really passionate about it. I came from a family where, really conservative, really Catholic, just always kind of talked about being pro-life and how life is so valuable. So I just kind of grew up in that household where I just always knew, okay, there's, life is important. And then I don't remember when I found out about abortion or how, but I mean, I knew it was wrong, I didn't need my parents to tell me that. I knew it was wrong. So being in New Jersey, it is extremely, extremely, extremely pro-choice. It's a sanctuary state and it's just, a very liberal government, very like, let's get women in here from other states. Let's get them abortions, In fact, where I lived in New Jersey, about 5 minutes away from my house now, I want to say like 2 years ago, they built a Planned Parenthood that does abortions. And it's like scary every time I visit because I know that it's there, It's like really sad, because I feel like we're kind of losing the battle over there. But I would say I would go to a lot of like meetings that my dad would attend, just like political meetings and stuff, and everyone had the same views, especially like being on pro-life. We would go out and protest. There was like this representative, his name was Mazzio, and he was very pro-abortion. And he actually has like a produce place. It's kind of like a healthier like grocery store, I guess you could say. And we used to go out on the sidewalks close to his business, and we had have signs out, and talking about and trying to talk to people about why this is terrible, why he's not doing a good job as our representative. So I remember that very distinctly. I remember we had the police called on us a few times, and we would go out there as a group. It wasn't just like me and my family. Like we would go out there with quite a bit of people, and we had people honking or people, flipping us off as they would drive by. We had some people maybe walk up to us, but I remember the police, definitely being called a couple times, but they would come over and be like, well, you're on the sidewalk, like it's public property, so maybe just move over a little bit over here, but like you guys are fine, which was awesome. But that's kind of where my actual activism started, I would say. It was just like being out on the sidewalk with signs and just trying to talk to people.
And so what did that look like more in depth? Was it like you said, would you just have signs? Would people come up and talk to you? Or was most of it like, what was the dialogue or what kind of, I guess, atmosphere were you having at that point?
It wasn't a great atmosphere because, again, New Jersey is very, like, pro-choice. You're dealing with a ton of people. Like, you're very much in the minority there. And so we definitely had people who, you know, I don't think we really had anyone walk up to us. It was more like people would roll down their windows and yell at us, flip us off, like, yell, like, mean things, you know? I feel like that was the biggest thing. And then, of course, you know, the police being called on us, like, okay, we know that the people inside are, you know, upset about it. So, but we didn't necessarily have anyone ever walk up to us and, like, try to start a big fight. But, I mean, I've heard stories of people in the group who, you know, who did have things like that happen to them. But luckily, that never happened with me. And being younger, I know my parents would have been like, oh, if we feel really unsafe, like, they would not have had me there, you know? Right. So we felt safe within the community that we were in, but also we were in a bit of a rough area where people were not very happy about us.
Yeah. What were, did you guys have any good dialogues then when people would come up to you guys? That you remember off the bat?
To be honest, I don't necessarily remember because I was so little when this was happening, and, like, I was just there holding up signs. You know? I wasn't at the point where I could really talk to people. I was just kind of watching and observing. And I'm sure that the people who I was with have had good conversations. But personally, I didn't have any conversations just because I was probably, I don't know, maybe 12 at the time.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot younger.
I was a lot younger, yes.
Okay. And so then what happened after that? So your family's really involved in this. What kind of, did you step into a more, like, how do I say this? Did you step into, or did you make the decision to step into, like, this activism for yourself while you were still in New Jersey, or is that something that came later when you went to college?
It definitely started in New Jersey. I would say...
Were you a part of any groups or anything for, like, young adult, or not young adults, but, like, Teens for Life or anything like that? I know that's a big organization, but, like, were there any local organizations like that you guys were a part of?
I was a part of, like, different, I guess, more, like, political groups, but they weren't specifically pro-life. I mean, their views were pro-life, but they weren't, like, a pro-life group. You know, mm-hmm. their main focus wasn't abortion. Yeah, so I wasn't really in any groups, but my leadership definitely started in New Jersey. As I would go to these things and see pictures of, like, aborted babies, like, I don't know, something, like, stirred in me. It was like, okay, this is something that's really important, you know, and I was part of this group called Center for Self-Governance, and something that I've been involved with since I was, like, 9 years old. Great organization. They do a lot of, like, civics trainings and things like that. And I remember I was taking one of their courses, and I forget how it came up, but so they were asking, like, you know, so what are you really passionate about? And I don't remember why. I don't even know why I remember this. This was, like, so many years ago, but I remember I was like, I'm really passionate about abortion. And I was so young at that time, and people were probably like, she doesn't even know what that is, you know what I mean? But I just remember that moment being like, you know, my passion is abortion, and ever since then, I feel like I've really, really been passionate about it. But I was always passionate about it, but that moment, I actually said it out loud, you know? Mm-hmm. I was like, this is what I am passionate about. So, ever since then, I feel like I've been kind of trying to step into a leadership position.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the other thing is you probably had life rallies, or at least since you were, like, fairly close comparatively to a lot of people in the West Coast, I would say. You're probably pretty close to the march in D.C. Did you ever attend the march in D.C.?
I did. I have attended it now twice. The first time was when I was in New Jersey. This was actually 2020. Interesting year, and also Trump spoke, so that was really cool. I remember going, me and my dad went. We went. I was really, really excited about it, and of course this was before Roe was overturned, but oh yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. I got to meet Abby Johnson very quickly, but I got to meet Abby Johnson, got her book unplanned. I got it signed, went home and, like, read it in one day. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I got to just march around and see a bunch of, like, people who were younger, you know, which was really inspiring. Because sometimes, you know, I would go to all these groups with my parents, and it was like, you know, 70-year-olds, 60-year-olds, you know, and they have nothing else to do. And I'm like, that's awesome that you guys are here, but, you know, once you guys die off, like, where's my generation? You know what I mean? And I was so used to being the youngest one. I've always been, like, the youngest one at any of the meetings I've gone to, me and my brother. And so it was really awesome to be there and be like, wow, wait, there's people my age! Like, this is so cool. You know, there's different schools there, which is awesome. And seeing, they had, like, bands, and I was was just amazing. So I remember that really, really well. And seeing Trump, I was so excited. I was so excited for that moment when he spoke. It was awesome. So I was very excited to get to go to the March for Life when I was in New Jersey in 2020.
Yeah. So when I lived in North Carolina, that was the first time I went to a March for Life. And I think this is really before social media kind of took hold with like the Students for Life programs or like basically any like abortion awareness stuff. So this was back in like 2016, 17. I can't remember the exact year. But I remember going and I was so shocked to see that there's like this one part that they had like this giant screen and they were showing a live, they were showing a videoed abortion, like a real, not like an animation, like a real abortion. Real. And it was on the screen. And I remember that hit me so hard. And I think the thing is the reason, I mean, it's kind of gruesome and you don't like to see it when you're like scrolling on your social media and you see something like that. But that's kind of the point. Is like, it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable because you know that that's wrong.
Exactly.
Right? And so I think that's one of the things that I think the March for Life one, like you're saying, is like, first you have all these people. I mean, it's hours and hours of people walking. It's so cool. Yeah. But then at the same time, like, there's that second part of like, yeah, I think people need to kind of confront what they're okay with, right? So, but one thing I want to go back before we kind of move forward into what you're doing now is it seems like your dad is a central part of this kind of, like your journey into pro-life. So could you talk about like your relationship with your dad and how he's kind of inspired you to this position or?
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely a big part of this journey. He for sure out of my two parents was very like, I don't know how to put it, very like politically charged. He is very, very much into, you know, politics and the ways of the world and, you know, what's going on in the world. He's always reading things and, you know, learning more and trying to spread information about it. You know, he's gotten me involved in so many different groups. And so I feel like my passion stems from his passion because he's very passionate when you get talking about, you know, different topics. He gets very passionate and I see that passion in myself. So I definitely think I got that from him. You know, and just, I feel like he, you know, tries to show you like one person can make a difference in the world, you know? And without good, you know, evil's gonna sneak in. And so, you know, we have to constantly be fighting. Even if we think, you know, oh, we're in a good position, like we gotta constantly be fighting. So I am definitely really grateful for my dad. He's helped me to network a lot as well. I've met a lot of amazing people. So I definitely would attribute my passion and kind of, yeah, just my passion for life and just politics in general to him. So, yeah.
And then what about your faith life? So what did your, like growing up, you said that you were Catholic, but what did has your faith influenced you in any way with your stance on abortion? I guess, what does that look, or how are those two things connected?
For sure. I would say my faith validates my opinion. I didn't really know the stance of the Catholic Church on abortion until later in life. So I'm not a cradle Catholic, unfortunately. So I converted. I was baptized Methodist. And then when I was 8, well, so funny fact, I thought that when you go to a Catholic school as a kid that you have to be Catholic to go. And so I went to Catholic school from pre-K to 3rd grade. And so I thought I was Catholic because I was going to Catholic school. And then they were like, hey, you actually can't receive your sacraments because you're not Catholic. And I was like, wait, what do you mean I'm not Catholic? What do you mean I'm not Catholic? My whole life is a lie. Because I was like a kid who loved going to mass. Like, I looked forward to going to mass. I think we went twice a month as a school, and I would look forward to those days. Like, I could not wait to go to mass. And then, like, you're telling me that I am not Catholic? What? So I was like, alright, well, we need to fix this. So I was able to convert to Catholicism and was able to receive my sacraments with the class. So that was awesome.
Hold on, I'm going to stop there for a second. So are you the oldest or the youngest? Did you say you had a brother?
I do, yes. So we are 4 years apart. He's younger.
Okay.
Yep.
So my question is for you, your parents sent you to this Catholic school. Were you the reason that, hold on, I'll ask this first. Are your parents Catholic now?
So my dad's Catholic. My mom just converted, Easter Vigil.
Oh
Yep.
Wow.
Amazing. Yes.
So yeah, you were the one that did it all, huh?
I did.
So wait, was your dad Catholic prior, or was he, sorry, because you said you guys were Methodist first, so I'm wondering, like, did he convert as well, or was he born and raised Catholic?
Yeah, so my dad was cradle Catholic, my mom was Methodist. They got married in the Methodist church, and then they had me and my brother baptized Methodist, but we went to Catholic school. But then we would go to church at the Methodist church, but, like, I personally did not like the Methodist church, like, at all. So I automatically kind of just geared towards, like, Catholicism. And then when I found out I was Methodist, I was like, okay, no, we need to fix this. And then my brother also did the same thing. So I guess second grade, is when you, first grade? I don't know, it was when you...
Second grade is when you go through First Communion.
Exactly. So then around second grade, he converted to Catholicism as well. And now my mom, Easter Vigils, is converted, so...
That's amazing.
We're all Catholic now.
Praise God.
Yes.
I always find it really interesting that there's actually a large percentage of second graders that are getting, like, all of their sacraments, because it's exactly that. It's like, hey, well, all of my friends do this, all of their families go to this, like, I don't want to be the person that misses out, but it's, like, in a way, kind of, like, good, like, pressure, like, you know, like peer pressure,
positive pressure,
yeah. Well, and I think the thing is, it's not really pressure, because it's like, oh, well, like, you're here, you could get a blessing, you can go up and get a blessing, like, It's like, you're not, like, having to do this, but, like, it's kind of, I think it's interesting to see how many people, or how many little second graders, like, do that. It's actually really funny, my old employer, he was a oral surgeon. Fun fact. And his family all converted when his daughter went through First Communion in second grade. They sent her to St. Joe's. Okay. Yeah, downtown at Boise, or in Boise. So anyways, so and their whole family were like, I guess we're doing this. And so they went, and they did OCIA, I think, as the adults, and then the kids went in. So it's really beautiful how Catholic schools can do that. It's really, really cool. Yeah. But going back to your pro-life work, you said that your faith affirmed. Is that what you said? The word?
Validated.
Validated. So you said that your faith validated your stance. Have you actually looked into any of, like, the secular pro-life arguments, or is that something that you kind of argue in, like, the more, like, because we'll get into this in a second, but you are currently, is it the director of? President. You're the president of the pro-life, is it club?
Students for Life. Yep.
Student for Life at Boise State.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So, have you had, like, when you interact with people, have you taken into account any of, like, the secular pro-life arguments and that kind of stuff? Is that kind of where you argue or make your claims, I guess? Or do you argue from faith? Like, what does that look like?
For sure. I'd say it depends on the person. Yes, I'm Catholic, but also I want to be able to reach so many people who aren't Catholic, who aren't even religious, you know? I feel like being Catholic, right, we know, okay, well, God formed us in, in the womb, and, like, we are so precious, from conception. That's just kind of something that goes along with our faith, whereas so many people, aren't religious, and they're like, oh, well, they don't see that part of it. So I feel like as much as the religious part is important, it's also equally or even arguably more important to talk about it from the scientific perspective, but luckily, being a bio major, that's perfect for me, so I'd love to talk to people about the science of it, because, if, okay, your religion doesn't align, well, or you're not even religious, okay, cool, well, let's talk about it from science, so I feel like they can both work really well together, but also it depends on the person, if you're talking to someone who's really religious, well then, okay, maybe we should talk about it more from, religious perspective. What does God think about abortion, versus if you're talking to someone who's never touched religion before and they're just like, okay, what are the facts? Okay, well, here's the facts, so I feel like it really depends on the person.
And so tell me this then, did your influence, or did your interest in pro-life matters, is that what pushed you into the major that you have, or tell us a little bit about why you chose that major?
For sure. Actually, it's not. I love animals. I wanted to be a vet when I was like 3 years old, and I stuck with that until my last semester of high school, actually. I was like, I'm gonna be a vet, and then I decided I don't want to be a vet anymore. And so I figured going into biology, it's a pretty like vast field. You can do a lot with it. My emphasis makes it a little more specific because it's ecology, evolution, behavior, which is more geared towards like wildlife. So like over the summer, I worked with Fish and Game. I did field research all over Idaho for the Hatcheries Research Department in Nampa, which was really cool. So I want to go into things like conservation and wildlife management, but funny enough, through my 3 years of college and starting up this club and whatnot, I realized that maybe the conservation I want to go to is in my own species. Funny enough, I started with animals and I'm like, you know what? Humans are kind of cool too. So, just my love for wildlife and animals and science is what pushed me to go into biology. But I've learned a lot going into this major that maybe animals isn't what I want to do. Maybe I want to focus more towards humans, but I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think you'd know more about this than I would, but isn't the development, like, I don't know, I can't remember if people that are not pro-life use this as an argument, but doesn't the embryo and the, like, beginning stages of a human pretty similar in all mammals? Is that correct? Doesn't it, like, that first stage, they look pretty similar?
They actually do, yeah. Sometimes, I mean, it obviously depends on what part of the development you are, but sometimes it's really hard to tell what you're even looking at. You know, if you put a human next to, I don't know, let's say a rabbit or a dog, for example, like, it might look very, very, very similar to a human's, which is so interesting, because I feel like, I don't know, so many people are like, oh, I know they're not mammals, but, like, protect the birds, you know? Like, protect the American eagle, you know, or like from the bald eagle from, you know, going extinct, we gotta protect them. It's like, okay, so you want to protect them and their babies and their eggs, but you don't want to protect humans. Like, okay. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And I think there's like a two-edged sword, because I think sometimes someone might hear this, and be like, well, you know, it is good to protect those things. And I don't think say that we would disagree with them in that. But yeah, like, protecting life is good, right? Yep, protecting animals is good. Taking care of our environment, like trying to reduce our waste, like that kind of stuff is still good. But we have to like equally prioritize, like, what comes first. Like, we have to put first things first, right? And when you can go into like a philosophical standpoint, right? There's the vegetative life, then you have the animal, and then you have the rational life, right? And this is like under Thomas Aquinas's like metaphysics, or I guess this actually goes back to Aristotle's metaphysics, but or a lot of studies of metaphysics. But anyways, it's in that order. Like, vegetative obviously doesn't have the same value as like animal life, right? Like, we can't kill cows because they're eating too much grass. Like, you know, that doesn't make sense. And then the next level up would be like the rational life, right? And so we can't, like, we have to, like, of course we want to take care of the vegetative life and the animal life, because it is like a direct line. You know, we have to make sure that we're good stewards, and God calls us to be good stewards, but like, we have to put first things first. And that, like, if we're choosing like a human, like a child, or even if it is an embryo, because a lot of IVF discussions are happening right now, like, even if it is an embryo, like, that embryo is inherently more valuable than a kitten, no matter how cute the kitten is. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about this then a little bit more. Give me kind of overview of what you guys are doing at BSU right now.
For sure. So I guess the best way to start this would just be from the beginning. So I came to Boise State University, and I knew I wanted to get involved with clubs. You know, I've been told that's the best way to kind of go about making friends and just getting involved in the community is start with clubs. Get involved with what you're interested in. And I quickly saw that there was really no pro-life club on campus. Yes, there were clubs that probably had pro-life stances. You have Turning Point USA, you have, you know, College Republicans, but there was no pro-life club, which was kind of disappointing, you know, especially since this was a big passion of mine. I was like, okay, cool, I can get involved in the pro-life club. Well, it doesn't exist. Cool. And I so desperately wanted to start a club, but, you know, freshman in college, like, there's so much going on. I went to an online school for 6 years, so coming, like, off of that, it's being in person is like, whoa, like, what is this, you know? So I had so much to learn in my first year. I really didn't have time to get involved in clubs or anything. I was really, really just focused 100% on my academics. And then I actually met some amazing girl, Justine. She, through a mutual friend of ours, and we somehow got talking about, like, being pro-life or whatnot. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, you know, I'm just really passionate about being pro-life and whatnot. Great. Conversation ended, and then I saw her again, and she was like, hey, I'm actually starting up a Students for Life club on campus. I was like, oh, you are? She's like, yeah, I am, actually, and, we need 3 officers to start the club. We have 2. Would you want to be that third? I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I would love to be that third. What? No way. Which I thought that was just, like, so amazing. You know, I was like, what? No way. I had no idea that she was looking for an officer, and she didn't say anything until, you know, after our conversation. She's like, you're just really, really passionate, and that's what we want, you know. Would you be that third? I was like, absolutely. So, I started out, the club started a year ago, which in semesters would actually be 3 semesters ago, so last fall. And I started out as the financial officer. We just got the ball rolling, you know, and then last semester I went up to vice president. Now I'm president of the club, but we've been existing for a year. It's really hard to get members, so that's like one of our biggest challenges right now is getting members. Because I do want to expand on what we're doing in the club. Right now we're doing a lot of education. We're doing some trainings. We're having people come in and talk. We've been working a lot with, or trying to work a lot with different pregnancy, like, centers around campus or close by. So I've been talking with PATH a bit. I also been working more closely with Stanton. You know, there's the one on Franklin. I think it's like 20 minutes from campus. You know, so there's definitely, like, resources around campus. Surprisingly, like, enough, if you go on to Boise State Health Services, for example, there's stuff about, you know, oh, you know, do you have this disease? Oh, there's testing, blah, blah, blah. But then if you're pregnant, there's literally nothing on there. Mm-hmm. Not for better, not for worse. It's not like they're telling you to go to Planned Parenthood in Ontario. But there's also no, like, hey, you need help, you're pregnant, you're in college, you don't know what to do. Here are some resources. You know, for example, PATH is literally right down the street from Boise State. I didn't even know that until this semester. Or actually, it was this summer. I was like, I had no idea you guys were so close. So I really, really want to work with these resource centers and be like, get them out on campus. You know, we want people to know about them, what they provide, and then it's not scary to go there. You know, they're just looking out for the best interest of women and for the babies, you know? Mm-hmm. So we've been working a lot with those, like, pregnancy resource centers around campus, and we're trying to get, we had a speaker come in last semester. We're going to have one come in next semester. So trying to get more involved, like, with their community, trying to get people who, you know, don't just go to Boise State, but, you know, their family or friends or people from, you know, the diocese who are interested, like, come in and learn, you know? So just trying to make, I guess, the topic of abortion and women's health care more talked about on campus and within our community.
Yeah, so this is kind of interesting. So again, I told you I went to school in North Carolina, but I went to a Catholic school, and there was a program there called Mira Vera. And what it was a opportunity for women that either were pregnant before they went to college or, I mean college age students. So, like, there was, like, definitely it was pretty tight of who could be there because they had limited space. But they actually had a few sisters that were there to help take care of, like, babies. And then if anyone became pregnant during their stay at Belmont, because it is a college. Yep. Can't protect everything.
No.
But if they did, they could actually apply to be in Mira Vera and stay in school, stay on their sports team. Obviously, their participation would be less because now they have a child.
For sure.
And they could stay on campus and still go to school, still graduate, but they could be with their baby. And so they would do all of it with their baby. They would have, like I said, the sisters would watch them during class so that the students could still go to class, and then they would have, like, childcare, basically. They could still, again, I think it was a little, like, I don't remember how the sports thing worked because there was a large amount of people that attend Belmont Abbey that are athletes, and so I don't remember how much it was because that can take up a fair amount of your life in college is at, like, practices and tournaments and whatever, right? So I don't know exactly how that worked, but that was, like, a really beautiful ministry that I thought is really cool. And you're right, though, like, better or worse, like there should be some opportunities for people to like at least like, you know what, let's go ahead and just confirm that you are pregnant.
Exactly.
Like here's an we can do an ultrasound, or like we can offer that kind of stuff. Like that stuff I think that should be on the campus. I come from it from such a like Catholic view that sometimes it's just like, there's like a Catholic circle where there's like, well, we'll help you, or here, we'll help you learn how to track naturally so you don't have to use contraception or like the whole idea of like Plan B and these things. Like there's enough to be learned, even if you're not coming from a religious point of view. Like there's enough information out about natural like ways of like I don't want to sound like I'm like promoting this, but I'll say in the context of marriage, there are like natural ways that you can space children, right?
Yep.
So that you don't become pregnant. But those things are still good for women to use always, because what we're finding out is there's so many problems with like basically every single type of birth control has some side effect. Obviously, the pill has the highest rate of like cancers and health defects, or not defects, but like health issues that come along with it. But we're learning that copper IUDs and all of these things still increase your risk of cancers by like at least, I think the lowest one is 18%. Like of all the options, like the best one for you is still 18% increase for types of cancers. And I actually did some research on this, so I can put a link to that in the description. But yeah, like these are like peer-reviewed studies that are showing that like women's health really sucks.
Yeah.
Like the average woman, like growing up, what are they told? Like, oh, your periods are hard? Here, birth control.
Exactly.
And that's not medicine, right? And then what that trickle effect happens is that then you come into college and like women don't really know what's going on in their body, and then oh my goodness, what happens if they do get pregnant and they have no idea what's going on? Like there's just no information about that, and I think that's growing, hopefully. Yes. Maybe it's not just like my bubble that I live in. I hope that the knowledge of that is growing, but I do see that it's a problem, and it's part of the pro-life movement, I think. And yeah, I'll let you answer if that is that correct or not, but yeah.
I feel like a big part of it, is just being there for women, just in general.
Yeah.
I think a common misconception about, like, pregnancy resource centers, for example, is you're going there to decide if you want to keep your baby or not. But the thing is they're there for, for women themselves without even being pregnant. Like, for example, Stanton, like, they constantly give out, like, these period kits where they have tampons and, like, whatever, like, all sorts of, like, really cool things in them. They have, like, coupons for free, free services and whatnot, and you can come and get it refilled, totally for free. You know, and, like, okay, so you're on your period, you're definitely not pregnant. Like, you know, they're here for women. And I feel like so many people are like, oh, well, I have to go there if I'm pregnant, you know, and they're gonna bash me or whatever, but that's not true, you know? So I feel like a lot of people kind of shut down the idea of pregnancy centers because they're like, it's in the name, you know? Like, oh, you know, we don't want to go there. So, like, for example, Stanton Healthcare, because you don't want to call it a pregnancy resource center because, God forbid, you know, you go there, like, oh, you know, I feel like there's kind of a lot of bad ties with the names, which is unfortunate. But I feel like, you know, we are definitely trying to spread the word. You know, we have Stanton, I actually just helped them come up with the idea of making little magnets, and they have like a QR code that goes to their website, but on the magnets it kind of says, oh, we're Stanton Healthcare, we have this, and we have this. Like, here are the different like services that we provide that are not all, you know, tied to pregnancy, for example.
Yeah.
You know, and they come on campus once a month. I want to say it's the first Tuesday of every month. They have like a big, huge 34-foot mobile clinic. They can do ultrasounds right then and there, like in there. They also are constantly handing out like those period care kits when they're on campus. And so they're trying to spread the word on campus, you know, that like, you can come to us, we're not scary. You know, they're trying to just get that out. But of course, you know, you still always have challenges that come with that.
Yeah. When it comes to women's health, I think that the thing that we need to remember is that even if you are using birth control now and it's a Band-Aid, like say there's not like like if your cycle is normal and you're just using it to avoid pregnancy, that's one thing. But if you're put on it because of some like, oh, you have really long periods or you have really bad PMS and so they put you on the pill, like just to ask yourself the question, like, is this a Band-Aid? Is there something underlying this? Because what happens, and it's so sad, there's many people my age that are like finally like getting married and like trying to have kids, and then they're finding out, I can't have kids. And it takes them 4 or 5 years after being on birth control or being on all these things that they've been like kind of mitigating their problems with, that they realize that they have PCOS or they have endometriosis. And I have this really sad story of this this acquaintance that I have, but she finally, she's getting her hysterectomy. She's only like 3 years older than me, and she said her endometriosis is so bad that she wouldn't be able to have kids anyways if she wanted. And so at this point, like, she's like, I just have to get a hysterectomy because it's so painful. I'm like on my period for a month, right? And it's like, she was on birth control for like 15 years, you know? And it's just like the idea that, this movement, of course, like, we want to save babies, but it should be, and it is, oftentimes you'll hear pro-life activists say this, it's the health of the mother and the baby, not or, right? So, but that's part of it, though, is like, we need to be talking about women's health, talking about the problems they might have, kind of defining language. I know here, I'll bring this to you then. How have you guys been talking about the word abortion? Because there's been a lot of talk, I think, now about how medically it's defined versus how colloquially it's used, right? So have you had kind of those discussions? Because that's even a whole topic of education that people usually don't know about, you know?
No, that's true. I mean, we do talk about abortion, because that's why we're here, right? Like, that's why we're having these meetings. That's why we're, trying to educate people to talk about abortion. But kind of going back to, like, the names, right? You say abortion, people automatically shut you off. They don't want that's a bad word, because it's a dirty word, They don't want to talk about it. So we have to try, at least, like, when, for example, like, when I'm tabling, if I'm not tabling, I try not to say the word abortion. I try to, like, kind of work around it, and of course eventually I'll be like, okay, abortion, but we'll try to be like life affirming, for example, instead of saying we're anti-abortion. So we try to kind of work around it, because people are more likely to listen to you if you don't use the word abortion.
Yeah, there's some like hot topic political issues like abortion, immigration. Those two are the big ones in my mind. Yeah, and as soon as you say either of those words, people like are like, I have my decision on this, and I'm just flipping off.
They're like, nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So talk about your tabling a little bit. Mm-hmm. What does that look like? Yeah. So we haven't tabled a ton, just because, first of all, a lot of people don't like to table. It can be scary, We're very fortunate, though, that Boise State is a pretty pro-life campus. We haven't had really any bad experiences. You definitely get people who look at you, I think we might have had someone flip us off one time, but that's about it. I've never... You're like, I'm from New Jersey. I've seen a lot worse when I was 12.
Yeah, no, exactly. The police haven't shown up, Like, we're okay. But, people, and I will say, even myself, like, sometimes I'll go out there and I'm kind of like, ooh, like, this is scary being out here and, kind of out here for the world to see, like, oh, I'm pro-life, which means that, I'm anti-abortion, and I know, I have friends who, again, I haven't explicitly talked to them about abortion, but they've made comments and stuff like, I know their views on abortion, and I know they're, like, pro-choice, and I'll see them walking on, like, in the quad, and, I'll be there with, like, the pro-life stuff, and they're like, hi, and they're just like, like, oh, I don't know you, so sometimes it's kind of scary to be out there, because you're being judged, but you're also doing God's work, And so we've had pretty good experiences with tabling. I would say, with Students for Life, they're called campus tours. So, like, our regional coordinator will come out with, like, these big, like, banners and like, we'll set up this big thing. We'll be out there for, like, 4 hours. The first one that we did was last semester. It was really, really, really cold outside. But we were talking about the chemical abortion pill and how it can actually be in our water. Mm-hmm. That one was really good. And then this semester it was about a month ago, a little more now. And that one was just all human life is valuable. And both of those were actually really well received, because, first of all, no matter if you're pro-choice or if you're pro-life, you don't want chemicals in your water, right? Yeah. Like, that's a pretty that's a pretty, like, neutral topic. And then all human life is valuable. People are like, oh, I mean, yeah, humans are valuable. Like, yeah, but we also believe that, you know, babies in the womb are valuable too, you know. But we actually, in the first 10 minutes, I had like 3 people come up and just like, this is amazing, what, awesome, like, what's your Instagram, how do I get involved? Like, it was amazing, you know. So
wow,
we've
that's
had
awesome.
Yeah, it was really receptive. Funny enough, I think the most like controversial thing that happened, it was actually really funny. I took chemistry 111 with this teacher, and we were out one day just tabling, just trying to recruit, and we had, I think, some candy on the table, but we had a whiteboard. That was like what we were trying to use to bring people in. We had a whiteboard, and it just said, are you like pro-choice? Like, where do you stand on abortion? And neutral, against, or like for it? And funny enough, like, people would come up and they were like, you know, well, you know, no, I'm not for abortion, or oh, I am, or neutral. But my chemistry teacher, who I hadn't seen in like a whole semester, comes up, like, storms up, grabs the the Sharpie or whatever, and she goes, bam, like, right on the board, and just drops it and leaves. And of course she was, you know, apparently very pro-abortion, but she like didn't even say anything. She just grabbed the marker, bam, and left. But again, she didn't even really say anything, but she, you know, so it hasn't been like super scary, but I thought that was so funny. It's like, my old chemistry teacher, like, I know you, you know? But honestly, tabling's been a pretty good experience when we do go out there and do it. It's awesome to kind of engage with other students, so it's been great, yeah.
What is the atmosphere in Boise like then when it comes to pro-life stuff? I mean, you said that you have heard of other groups like Turning Point and those things. I mean, obviously they're not like pro-life groups, but they have an aspect of pro-life in them. So what does, like, if you were to talk about the whole of BSU's campus, what do you think like their atmosphere when it comes to life is? Do you think that most people are kind of neutral, or do you think they're pretty much in their camps?
No, I would say it's neutral or leaning towards pro-life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is really surprising. So when I came to, I went to Catholic school and like a Christian school from pre-K to 12th grade. So when I decided to go to BSU, I was kind of scared because I was like, okay, this is my first public, experience with a public school. And, you know, I'm prepared to see some crazy things, you know. But I will say the 2 things that like really surprised me about going to Boise State was, 1, Jesus is everywhere on campus. Like, I can't tell you how many times I will walk by 2 people talking and I know they're talking about Jesus. And I'll take my AirPod out, or I'll be like, oh, what are they talking about? And I just hear, oh, Jesus. I'm like, I knew it. You know? Or you have like people constantly like handing out tracts and stuff. You have all different, you know, groups out. You have, you know, like posters on the bulletins or whatever, you know, this Christian group is meeting, or this one's doing this. Like, everyone I talk to, yeah, I'm part of this group, or yeah, I'm part of this group. You know, obviously the minorities, Catholics, you know, but at least everyone there seems to be pretty Christian, which was really surprising. And of course, you know, you have people who aren't Christian, but there's never been a time where I felt like I was in the minority when it comes to Christianity, which is absolutely surprising. Mm-hmm. And I'm very blessed to have that experience. But also, I would say the second thing that surprised me was, definitely like the pro-life movement. I mean, I for sure thought we would get people, you know, yelling at us, throwing things at us, like, you know, being mean and scary or whatever. You know, like, we have to, anytime a regional coordinator comes, she always brings, you know, like a little GoPro, the camera on the table, just in case, you know. And like, I'm like, that's scary. But I'm like, but that's not happening here. Like, you don't need that, you know, like, this is Boise State, you know. We are pretty well accepted, and we've had people come up to us who, you know, didn't agree, and they genuinely wanted to talk. Which was really awesome. They talked.
That's amazing.
They didn't yell. It wasn't a debate. It was a talk. And they left being like, well, you know, I have a lot to think about now. Or, you know, so I feel like the atmosphere for the pro-life group is actually really welcoming. And even working with the student involvement, like, leadership center, which is kind of what we have to go through with the clubs, I was definitely scared to work with them. Because that wasn't my job last year. But now being the president, that's something I do a lot now, is I work directly with, like, BSU side of like the club, and they're very receptive, and like they want to help us, and they're, I don't know, I expected to get a lot of pushback and, oh, you know, canceling our meetings for random reasons or whatever, but they're like, hey, we just need this and then we can approve your meeting, or hey, we need that, you know. And, you know, like, we have some money to spend right now, and they're like, hey, don't forget to spend it. And it's like, oh, okay, like, awesome, you know. So even the Boise State side of it too has been really like welcoming, which has been really nice because I wasn't expecting to be treated like a normal person from them, you know? So honestly, it's been great. Really, really, really blessed to have that.
Do you guys do any type of fundraising or what to help put on your events and bring people in? What does that look like?
So right now, we're not really fundraising. The school's supposed to give you money, but it's kind of like a big mess where there's basically a big pot of money in the first come, first serve. So right now, we don't really have a ton of money for our club. I'm hoping to fundraise, but that's not something that I'm like currently doing at this moment. But that's something hopefully in the future, because I would love to get some money so that we can get food for our meetings, for example, because food is a great way to get people coming to your meetings. Like, automatically, like, I know some people come for the pizza, you know? Yeah. And that's okay, you know? I don't care, you know? You're there, that's awesome. So that's definitely something that I would love to work on. I know Boise State has, like a program called Pony Up where people can donate. It's kind of like a GoFundMe. So I'm hoping to start up something like that where people can help donate to our club, just because we do have limited funds right now. But we haven't really done a ton of fundraising.
So how does your club work with bringing in speakers? You said your regional manager?
Coordinator?
Yeah, regional coordinator. Like, how does that work with them coming in? What kind of support do you get? Do you have any training? What does that look like?
For sure. So honestly, it really depends on the situation. So for example, Allison is our regional coordinator. She comes in for free. It's just kind of her job is to travel around campuses. And then speakers, we've been really fortunate to have people help us out. So for example, we had Catherine Davis come in. She's the founder of the Restoration Project. She works on educating, I guess, other Black women about abortion and how it started. It has really racist origins, Planned Parenthood, and just kind of trying to educate people. So we actually had her come speak, I want to say it was in April. It was either March or April. I want to say it was April, though. We had her come in, and we work with Leadership Institute. They're amazing. They've kind of partnered with us, and they were like, hey, we want to get you guys a speaker. We'll pay for it, and we'll pay for the training. We just want you guys, you just got to set up the room and the time, and we'll have her here. So that was really awesome to have her, come in. And then we're hoping next semester to get Kristen Hawkins here. Wow. Yeah, so we're just waiting on a date. So it's not confirmed yet, but we're going to be hopefully working really closely with the diocese actually on this. I've been working with the St. John's ministry downtown.
Have you got connected with Jay, or have you heard of Jay Wanacott for the diocese, or have you worked with him at all?
I have heard of him, but I have not contacted him. I haven't actually spoken to him, but I have heard of him.
He's the director of family and life for the diocese.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he would be a great resource to get connected with as well.
That would be really awesome, because we definitely, when she comes here, we want to, she does campus tours where she'll come and talk to people, but we don't want to do that. We want to actually have a debate. And so we're hoping to get some really good people in here to come and debate her, because we all know she's really good at debating. And so we want it to be a really big event. We're hoping we can get a ton of people, so we're definitely going to be spreading the word and networking, but I'm just kind of waiting on confirmation of the date. But again, we're going to be working with the diocese, so they're going to help us, and so we'll see where we go from there. But
how is so you said that you worked with St. John's a little bit, so how is St. John's what's that relationship like right now with you, the pro-life movement stuff that you're doing and St. John's? What does that look like?
It's actually been amazing. So I've been working with Pat and Karen. They're absolutely amazing. Very grateful for them. They were the ones to really, I want to say specifically Pat was the one who really wanted Kristen to come. And so I've been working with her a lot, trying to figure out, okay, logistics of this, how can we get her here? We know she'll come. If it's just when, how, when, where, why, all of these questions, and just trying to figure out marketing and whatnot, all of that. But I attended my first meeting there I guess it was this month, the first Saturday of this month. They have their meetings, the first Saturday of every month. So I went this month, and it was really awesome to meet the group. And everybody there was super supportive. It's how can we help you? How can we help you, group? We want you guys to grow. Right now they're doing a baby bottle drive in October. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I've been helping out Sundays. Sunday Mass is the 5 p.m. I've been helping to hold the bottles, and people have been amazing in donating money. It's been amazing. And so I know they're really worried about the ballot initiative that's coming up right now. They're trying to get abortion legal back in Idaho again. So I've been really working with them and trying to see okay, how can we get this out here? How can we spread the word? But it's been really great. Our partnership has been awesome. So I'm very, very grateful to have them.
I know that that ballot initiative, they're actually trying to have a list of signatures that they can, we are trying to have a list of signatures to combat the initiative. So if I can find that, I'll go ahead and put it in the description, because if that's something that strikes you in the heart and you're like, yes, we should not have abortion in this state, then go ahead and continue by signing that and putting your name to it so that we can make sure that that doesn't pass. So I guess when it comes to political things, how are you staying up to date on things statewide as well as nationally for your organization? Are there things like, are you informing students? I mean, obviously you're trying to inform students about the initiative, like you just mentioned that, but like, how does that work into your position, and how does that work for you at campus?
Yeah, for sure. So I feel like, I've been working with a lot of different groups, so I feel like we kind of all talk about it. So that's kind of where, I'm getting like my updates from and whatnot. For example, I didn't even know about the ballot initiative until I started talking to St. John's. I had no idea that was happening. And I was like, wow, this is really scary, So being able to like work with other groups, I've been able to kind of like learn about, okay, what's going on? Or like, hey, did you hear about this? So that's kind of, I feel like we kind of educate each other. I definitely don't feel like I don't do a great job of educating others. My main education is kind of from the insider perspective of campus. So like, oh, what's happening on campus? Or have you heard about this on campus? So that's where like my education comes in. But as far as, hearing about other things that are going on, like my biggest, I guess, outlets would be my fellow groups. And also like the regional, they offer trainings and stuff like that as well. So I've been able to do some trainings, and they update them, and I've been able to do those with my group. Like, okay, this is where we are right now. This is what's happening. So I feel like that's kind of how we go about things.
Have you guys gotten connected with anyone at the Capitol here in Idaho, or working with state legislation?
So actually in January we lobbied, just again, we were talking about the water systems and, and chemical abortions, and I don't remember, there was one guy who said that he would introduce it, which was awesome, trying to get a bill out there, like, let's get this out of our water. I can't remember his name, but we did lobby at the Capitol in January. We're going to be lobbying again this January, at the Capitol. So we have definitely been able to talk with some of our representatives, which has been amazing. So they know we're here, they've seen us, they've seen our faces, heard our voices. So they know we're here, which has been awesome. So I do want to get more involved on the Capitol floor, but as of right now, that's about as much as we've done. But again, we'll be going back in January.
Have you worked at all with the Newman Center and talking with people at the Newman Center about your pro-life mission? I feel like that would be kind of low-hanging fruit. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you guys all profess to be Catholic, something the Catholic Church teaches. You kind of should become a member, Yeah.
I'm so glad you asked that question. I am forever, forever, forever grateful for the Newman Center on campus. Thank you, St. Paul's. Thank you, Alberta. Thank you, Father Nathan. Like, everybody over there. They honestly really helped to make this whole thing possible. I'm Catholic, so a lot of the club members are also Catholic, but they also go to St. Paul's on campus, So the first year, the first 2 semesters, we had our meetings on campus in the ILC, and which is Interactive Learning Center. It's kind of right in the middle of campus, but it was really hard. We didn't have a lot of people show up, and the people who did, most of them were Catholic. Mm-hmm. But after thinking about it, I was like, we should have the meetings actually at the center, because so many people are just hanging around there. They're studying or doing homework, and if they just see us, I'm like, oh, this is cool. What's happening? It's a great way to get more people to come in. Again, most of the people are Catholic. I'm super happy. We had 2 people who were Orthodox show up last meeting, which was amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I've had people.
We love our Orthodox brothers.
We
and
do.
sisters.
We do. Yeah. We had 2 Orthodox people show up.
We also love our Protestant brothers and sisters.
Yes.
But I'm just saying there's a warm connection there.
There is. Yes.
I don't know if it's reciprocated, but I definitely love. Someone says they're Orthodox, I'm like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No. 100%. 100%. I was so happy to have them there. We definitely have some Protestants who show up, or people who aren't even religious show up, so it's a diverse community, but we do have it at the Catholic Center just because it is easier. Most of the people who come are Catholic, and it's a really comfortable location. But Alberto specifically has been amazing in helping me promote my club. I sat down with him in the summer. I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. I'm president now, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. When am I supposed to have the meetings? Where am I supposed to have them? Because I feel like we had a decent attendance rate in the beginning, last fall, when we started up the club, but then by the end, even beginning of spring semester on, it was like really hard. We had, only a few people show up to our meetings. I was like, this is not cool. We need more people. So I was talking to him, like, how do I go about this, and for example, we were having our meetings every other week. He's like, well, hey, that might be too much. Maybe you should just go to a monthly meeting. Like, that's a good idea, or maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. Honestly, I really feel like we have a really strong partnership between Students for Life, Boise State, St. Paul's at Boise State, and Stanton. The three of us, I feel like we work really well together, where Stanton will send me a message, hey, did you talk to Alberto about this? Or, Alberto will be like, hey, did Stanton talk to you about this? So I feel like we have a really good partnership. Again, I know earlier I mentioned the magnets. I had them make magnets in there. They're currently in the stalls in the women's room, the restrooms at St. Paul's. So, I've been able to work with them, which has been awesome. St. Paul's has a men's versus women's week, like every week. I want to say it's in November. And I was talking to Alberto about it. He's like, hey, we always do like some sort of like charity event. Last year they did who can bring in the most canned goods. So this year we're going to do a diaper drive for Stanton. So,
oh yeah, that's amazing.
So awesome. So I feel really, really blessed to have them. I feel like sometimes, like the club and St. Paul's are kind of one and the same. Again, I know we're an official campus organization or club, but we really do work very tightly together. I'm super grateful for them, helping me and encouraging me, They're constantly encouraging me, and I just feel really, really, really loved there and respected, and I know they want to help this succeed. So I'm very grateful for St. Paul's.
One other thing I wanted to mention earlier, and I actually forgot.
That's okay.
But you reminded me as we were talking about this in the diaper drive. But there's I don't know of a Catholic church in the Valley that doesn't do some kind of pro-life drive every year. Yeah. And I know a lot of the times they give to Stanton, but I just want to encourage anyone that hears this, or maybe if you spread this around or have this on your campus or whatnot, just to talk to some of the girls, if you're afraid to come or you're not wanting someone to see you here, you can always go to any of the parishes and say, hey, I was just faced with an unplanned pregnancy. I'm, maybe I am getting connected with Stanton, but what can can you guys help me? Can this parish help me? And I know that the parishes around the Valley would help. They would be there to support you. They'd get you connected with who you needed to know. And so I think that's another thing that we should kind of advocate for, is that, even if you're not Catholic, they're going to still help you and guide you in the right direction. They might help you with food. They might help you with
anything.
Actually having, I know that there's actually a parish that they met someone, they met a young girl and she was just at mass one day and she just opened to someone yeah, I just found out that I'm pregnant and I don't know what to do. And I was cradle Catholic, but I haven't been back to church for 10 years or something like that. I haven't been here since I was a kid and I don't know what to do. And they ended up throwing her a baby shower. Aww, and they got her everything she needed, car seats and strollers and diapers, and the whole community came around and surrounded this woman with everything that she would need to start off to have her child, right? So I think the thing that we need to encourage is that just because you find yourself in a situation and there's all these resources, if you want to find a community as well, go to St. Paul's, go to the Newman Center, you'll find people that'll walk with you, go to a parish that if you don't want to be around other people, you want to just be random, go to a parish and they'll take you in, we'll be here for you. And I think we're called to, that's what we're called to do, is to be that community for people. So yeah, I wanted to just remind people of that, because I know that at Sacred Heart, where I go, we do a drive, and it's not just diapers, but it's onesies. Aww. And they have a list of we don't want everyone to just get ones in diapers or 0 to 3 sure. in clothes or whatever. So it's we need Tutti, we need this, we need toddler formula, we need baby formula, just buy a variety. And they actually give us a list of here's where we're lacking, what sizes or what ages or what need we have that is lacking. So focus more on these than just the really cute 0 to 3. Because every time you go to every time I had a baby shower, I have 3 kids. Every time we've had a baby shower, it's like, for some reason, everyone has telepathy and they all buy the same size. So I have like, for my daughters, I literally have only like 6 to 9.
Oh my goodness.
I got like all 6 to 9. I'm like, this is great. I mean, granted, you can, return most of it and like get the sizes you need, but it does happen. So anyways, I just wanted to highlight that really quick. Okay, well, yeah, so you're working with St. Paul's and you're doing a lot of your, and plus, by the way, it looks so beautiful down there. Father Nathan has made it look so nice.
I know. It's beautiful.
It's very aesthetic.
He's done a great job. 10 out of 10, honestly.
Yeah. And then I guess, what is the last, like, just to start kind of wrapping things up here, what do you need? So what are the needs of your group? How can the community around you, the greater community around you of Catholics in the diocese, how can we help support you? How can we, like, if we have something that we want to, help with, where do we reach out? Like, what does that look like?
For sure. Well, that's a great question. I mean, I would say our 2 biggest challenges are, first of all, financial and also recruitment. So we have definitely a lot of issues with those. Again, as I mentioned earlier, there's only so much money that we can get from Boise State. Right now, we really don't have anything. So if you guys, if anyone wants to reach out and donate, I'll try and start up that Pony Up. Hopefully, we can get that going, and I can send that to you. But it's basically like a GoFundMe where you can directly donate to our club, and then we can use those funds for food, which would be awesome. Again, like I said, that really helps with recruitment. Actually, people see, oh, we're having pizza, like, I know people are going to show up. So that's definitely a big thing. And then, again, recruitment is really hard because one of the biggest differences between New Jersey and Idaho, right, is New Jersey is very, very pro-choice, and, like, abortion is happening there. Whereas in Idaho, it's really not. People, they'll drive 45 minutes away to Ontario, but it's not really happening as much in Idaho. And so the thought is, oh, well, abortion's gone in Idaho, so why do we even need a pro-life group? You know what I mean? Why do I need to come here and learn about abortion when it's gone? Yeah. So that's the biggest struggle that I'm having right now, is getting people to come, because they don't understand that, well, if we stop fighting, it's going to get back in here, like this ballot initiative, for example, And so if you know anyone who, is going to Boise State, please have them, come to our group. We meet St. Paul's. It's the first Monday of every month. I think the next one's November 3rd at 6 p.m. We're going to be upstairs in the Beaches Lounge and, going to have maybe some Thanksgiving desserts and stuff. It'll be fun. But, and I was talking to someone not that long ago, and they're like, yeah, I know someone who wants to join your group, but, it's kind of in the middle of the semester now. I was like, well, that doesn't matter. Like, please, don't be afraid of being, like, the odd one out. Like, we still have people, like, new people showing up. Like I told you, we had those 2 Orthodox people show up last month, so please show up. Don't be afraid to be, think the odd one out. It's a really good time. It's super, chill. Like, don't be afraid to show up. But please, if anyone knows anyone, tell them, hey, this is what's happening. Come support a great cause. It would be amazing to get some more people. Especially now when we really honestly need it the most.
Awesome. You mentioned Ontario really quick, so before we wrap up, I do want to touch on that. So,
sure.
Have you guys done any events over there? Have you guys done any protests over there? I know that's kind of like close to my heart because my parents live. I grew up in Payette, so it's like right on the Payette. Like the the Snake River separates Payette and Ontario, right? Mm-hmm. Fruitland and Ontario. So it's kind of like in our backyard. And I don't know if people really realize like how close it is, like those bordering states, you hear, it sounds bad, but you hear about it you hear it down in like Texas, like everyone's talking about like they're on the border, they're on the front lines or whatever, but it kind of feels like that too in Idaho, because what happens is marijuana was legalized there, right? And so what happens is you have abortion and you have marijuana shops, or you have a Planned Parenthood and marijuana shops that are popping up right across the border, and obviously it's like a 5-minute drive from Fruitland, like it's a 10-minute drive from Payette, it's a 15-minute drive from Weiser, and like those towns, like it's so easy that most of the time, like when I was growing up, we just did our shopping in Ontario. Yeah. Because there's no grocery tax there, right? Yep. Or there's no sales tax. So we did almost all of our shopping in Ontario because guess what? It's a little cheaper. And you just drive 10 minutes. And so it's kind of like I guess the reason I'm asking this question is because it's still like really close to us. It's not like it's gone and then all the states around us are also, pro-life, right? That's not the case. No. So, I guess when it comes to Ontario, what have you guys done any work there or any information or, what does that look like?
For sure. So we have, as of right now, we have not gone up there. Funny enough, was it this week? I don't know. This week or last week? My days run together so bad. I was actually speaking to a lady who is part of a pro-life organization, and she goes up there, I believe it's like once a week, and stands there, kind of as the last ditch effort to try and, to persuade these women to come back and don't go in, don't do it. And so she actually is going to be coming to speak at our meeting on November 3rd, briefly.
Oh, awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yep, she's not the main speaker, but she'll be coming in briefly just to kind of tell us about this. And then I'm going to have her come again next semester to talk more about it. But she wants to get a group of from our people together, actually, to go to Ontario and to pray up there and to talk to people. So we actually were just talking about this, but something that she said that I didn't recognize, but it kind of goes along with what you're saying really well, was that she's like, when I go up there and these women pull in, I look at their cars and I see their license plate and they're all Ada or Boise County. Like, they're Idaho.
Yeah.
They're from Idaho.
It's not that far.
It's not.
It's really not that much of a commitment to drive to Ontario. I mean, I think people do that more often than you'd think. Driving from Boise to Ontario, or Oregon.
Exactly. It was just like, that like really hit me. I was like, wow, it's crazy. These women, they make the journey over there. Yes, abortion is illegal in Idaho. Maybe it's prevented some women from, not getting abortions, but they can go 45 minutes away, from Boise, and bam, they're in Ontario, and woohoo, they can do whatever they need to do over there. So that is definitely something that I want to do. I want to go over there. I want to bring my group together. So we're going to be talking about that at our next meeting and seeing if we can get some people to go over there, And even starting here local in Idaho, we still have one Planned Parenthood. It's on Franklin Road in Meridian, and like going over there and praying in front of it, even though, yes, maybe they're not doing, abortions, but still, we want to
doing referrals. Like,
exactly.
Ontario's not that far.
No,
right?
Exactly. They're like 45 minutes away, exactly. So I want to see that one gone. Goodbye. So, maybe starting out here, but we're definitely going to be trying to get a group to go up there. And even if we don't get a group, I definitely want to go up there myself. So hopefully soon. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm so excited. We'll definitely put links to the Pony Up Drive down below. If you guys have like club email, or not email, but email or website.
Even Instagram.
Yeah, we can link that down below so that people can get connected with you. And I just want to put an initiative out to my listeners. If you have anyone younger in your life that may be attending BSU or might be in college or even in high school, send this out to them. Just let's spread the awareness for this group and hopefully have more young adults for life.
It'd be amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you came in, and we'll be continuing to support you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Desert Wanderers. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up as well as subscribe down below. We're produced by Salt and Light Radio, so you can find us on social platforms at Salt and Light Radio or Desert Wanderers Podcast. We produce episodes every week and we launch them for you on Wednesdays. So make sure to tune in for next week's episode, and we'll see you then.